Well, good morning, everyone. It's July 20th, Friday morning. And just here to give you do an update on the Heinz 57 project. Well, we've been making pretty good progress I think it's been about 2 weeks since I did a video on this. My son's been here helping, and we got the fuel line run. He made a mount for this fuel filter. Don't know if you can see it up there. It's right back here. You see it's all welded in right there. So he took a I don't know what it was, a quarter-inch, at least a quarter-inch piece of material, made a bracket, drilled and tapped it, welded it to the frame to mount the fuel filter. Ran the fuel line forward. Up here, up the frame, there's a, I don't know if you can see, if I can get it up that high, there's a tab that's going to be welded to the frame at the end of this line where it will transition to a hose. We're going to use like a Russell, or one of those kind of a braided hose instead of hose clamps, you know, something that's a little more mechanical than hose clamps on the end of a pipe. So that's done. The other day I finished this end of it. It goes from the filter here up over the top of that body mount, around there, the back side of the trunk floor, and into the sending unit. And the sending unit is 5/16, so we've got a little transition piece up there, coupling and a reducing adapter and bushing. So fuel line's done. The brake lines got finished. The front wheels go individually. So there's one short line. I'll show you. I'll lower the car and show you. You see it comes out of the master cylinder, and twice on the front there. It goes down to the proportioning valve. Goes twice off the front, once to each wheel. So you can see here where it goes to the driver's front wheel. The other line goes down and across the cross member. See if I can get you this to focus, give you a little more light. It's kind of hard with the steering here in a way. Goes across the back side of the cross member, back up over the top. Comes out here at the passenger front wheel. Decided I'm going to run the calipers on the back side of the rotors. I like them better that way. This particular kit, the caliper bracket will mount on the front or the back of the spindle. I like it better on the back. We were afraid the caliper was going to conflict with the sway bar on the front, and it turns out we've got the suspension compressed right now. You can see here where it's about midway. There's about 3 inches there below that bump stop, and about 3 inches above the cross member to the control arm. When the suspension is all the way down, the control arm touches the top of the cross member. So we've got the suspension compressed so we could check those clearances. As I say, with this kit, the brackets will mount front or back, and they will also mount left to right. There's no given location for the brackets. And I've been working with Mark at ECI. He's been very receptive. He's got a real good customer-friendly attitude. He listens to your ideas and suggestions and complaints and responds very positively. So I'm working with him on a final solution on this thing. Like I said, I can run it the way it is now, but he's actually working with me to improve the kit, make it a little bit better, really. So I'll tell you more about that when we're there, when I can show you. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to show you a few other things. One of them being the upper side of this. You see up here, there's this new sheet metal pan there where the spare tire well used to be. The battery's going to be here in the trunk at this point, and I'm going to run the cables through the car as far as I can. I'm going to come down here into the rocker panels from inside the car. I'm going to run through the rocker panels up as far as I can to the front, and then come out of the rocker panel up here on the front of it, right here somewhere. I'll put a hole and use a grommet and bring the positive cable out and the negative cable out, run it up alongside this body mount, and probably hit the bell housing, put a stud in this. This used to be the original 50, back in the day when these were current, this was the motor mount. Remember, it had this big ugly steel thing coming off of the frame here. This was the motor mount. I'll probably put a stud in there and go to that stud with the negative, and then obviously the starter motor is a couple of inches ahead of that. The positive will go there. But anyway, I'm going to put the car down. So what I'm going to have to do here to use the rocker panel as a raceway is in this location right here. There's a baffle in the rocker panel. So I'm going to have to, those marks indicate where I'm going to cut the panel to get that baffle out so I can run the two conductors through there. And then I'll just make a patch the size of that layout you see right there. I forget, it's 4 inches by 2 inches or something like that. So anyway, let me put the car down now, and I'll show you some more. Okay, so here's what it looks like from the top. There's the end of the fuel line I was telling you about, with the little tab that's going to get welded on the frame right there. That's with a bulkhead fitting. That'll transition to the hose that goes into the fuel pump. You see there's the rod that we're using to compress the suspension, all bathed in anti-seize. And the brake lines going around traveling down the cross member. You saw the bottom of that, and here it is. Here's what it looks like on the upper side here at the master cylinder, and the proportioning valve, the brake line going to this wheel. Steering box is a news item, I guess I would say. I don't know. All of a sudden, the thing would only go to one side. It goes from the center. I forget if it's right or left. It goes from the center to one side. You go back to center, it locks in the middle. It will not turn the other direction. So that's going back to CPP. Way up in the beginning of this whole project, I think it was last May, we bought a whole bunch of stuff at CPP. You know, CPP is Classic Performance Products. They sell all kinds of stuff for the classic Chevys. We bought the suspension parts, the control arms, the sway bar, the links to the, what do you call these things that adjust the steering. You know what I mean? It goes on the center link. I can't remember what you call the end pieces. Bought those. There's a bearing kit for the idler arm, shocks, the power steering kit, and so far all we've done is bolted the thing onto the frame. We haven't ever had fluid in it. We've never, the pump is on the motor and all that good stuff. But as far as the steering box, it got bolted to the frame, and that's it. Well, this thing now only go from the center to one side. And I contacted CPP, and they said, well, send us a video showing us the action, make sure that you're accurate and you're not off center or something. And I did that. And they said, okay, they gave me a return, not a return label, a return authorization. So I was supposed to pay shipping this thing back, and the thing weighs about 50 pounds. So it's not going to be cheap to ship back, not to mention I have no packaging. So they're sending me a new one. I'm going to use that packaging to send it back. Well, I have to pay. They agreed to pay the shipping of the new one here, but they still want me to pay the shipping of this one going back, even though product's never been used, and it's a totally manufacturer defect. they agree with that, but nonetheless, I have to pay the shipping going back. So thought everybody should know how they operate. So, you know, FYI. Okay, this video is for Van, I think he said. Anyway, this is what this box is doing. This morning, it's actually even worse than it was. Now, see there, it stopped. And there it's hitting again. Now, that's not 3 turns. Watch the set screw. There's 1.5. All right, so backwards, there's 1.5, and it's hitting. And it's not getting tight, it's hitting. See, look, watch. See? It's hitting, dead stop. All right, hopefully that'll answer your any questions. Thank you. Well, I spent the good part of the day figuring out how I'm going to run the battery cable in this project, because we're moving the battery to here in the trunk. And one of the things that determination required was cleaning out the trunk, because I had been taking the car apart and putting things in the trunk, all the you know, precious stuff, the parts of the interior, the glove box and the glove box door and the thresholds and the bottom valances on the seats and the carpets and, you know, a whole bunch of stuff. The car cover was still in here. And so anyway, the trunk had quite a bit of stuff in it. And like I said, I got in here and cleaned it out, and I came up to the realization that the spare tire that I've been carrying around for 3 years was of no use once I put the red wheels on the car, because the spare tire was a 14-inch wheel, and the red wheels that are on the car now are all 15-inch wheel, 15/8 and 15/7. The narrowest one doesn't even fit in the well here. And the 2 of them are different sizes, so having one of them, you know, is only going to be half prepared for a tire problem. So all of that considered, what I decided to do was put the battery box right there in that corner after I remove the well, and put one of those blank off pieces there on the floor. You know, they have those pieces that fill that opening where the well used to be, where the spare tire well goes. So I'm in the process right now of drilling out all the spot wells. I got about half of them done, and they're going pretty good so far, I think. I've got one of those rotor broach. I've got a rotor broach set. It's one of those, almost like a tiny little hole saw set that works really well for drilling out the spot wells. Drill a hole, like a pilot hole in the center of the spot weld, because there's a pilot, not a bit, a pilot pin in the center of those little rotor broach bits, and they drill the sheet metal pretty fast. So I'm, like I said, I'm about halfway around. I got all the holes, pilot holes are all drilled, and about half of the spot wells are drilled out at this point. So I'm going to keep going. It's like 9 o'clock. I'm kind of anxious to get this out of the trunk floor and see what it looks like. So it's about 9 o'clock Saturday night, and I'm just out here to kind of finish with this one little step. So here we go. See ya. So anyway, this is what this spare tire well cover looks like in the back. This is from Williams Classic Chassis. They're another class act. Really nice to work with, really good products. So bought this from them. Came yesterday. Tiny little bit of fitting up at the front end of it, because the floor in these things is a little different in every car. You know, these things aren't made by robots, so You know, when you get a bunch of people doing this kind of stuff, they come a little different. But anyway, you know, drilled the old well out. Drilled the spot wells to get the old spare tire well out. Then had to kind of tune up the flange and all those, you know, holes and stuff that were left, the material that might have been left. So when this got here, obviously you make sure that those flanges are all nice and straight and everything. And then if the piece, it comes bent the way you see it. But like I say, you know, the floors aren't all exactly identical. So you got to kind of custom fit a little bit. It's really minor. So that's going to keep, Scott will come, my son will come over here and he'll do the welding that's necessary to put that in there, make that permanent. And the battery box is going to go over here in this corner. And like I say, the battery cables will head forward on the side of the back seat there and work their way down into the rocker panel and use that as a raceway. So that's our progress to this point. And thanks again for watching, as always. Bye.